Megalodon is not currently swimming around our modern oceans, and there is a lot of evidence to say that exact fact. Um, to start with, this theory was first proposed in a mockumentary called Megalodon: The Monster Shark Lives, in which a marine biologist goes out and tries to search for Megalodon, for evidence of Megalodon's continued existence into the modern era. Um, that is, in fact, a mockumentary. None of the information proposed there is true or is factual as with regards to Megalodon's current existence. Um, and the show itself says that in the beginning of the show there is a short clip where there is a disclaimer that says effectively everything within this program is fictional. Unfortunately, it only aired at the start of the program and was not aired at any point during the program's release. And so a lot of people who tuned in after that clip had gone aired didn't see that. So they were being told by an accredited TV show that Megalodon does in fact exist. So I do not blame them for believing that fact. That's no fault of their own. But let's break down why Megalodon doesn't exist. To start with, a lot of people who say Megalodon does currently live within our oceans uses the evidence of ocean big. Not as big as you think. People like to throw around the statistic that we know more about space than we do about the ocean floor. That is flat out wrong. If you pull up any geological core map of the oceans, you will know exactly what parts of the ocean has been explored through indirect means. Granted, not a lot of people have been to the bottom of the ocean and lived to tell the tale, but not so many that we would say that space is more explored. We've only had a handful of missions to the moon and outside of our atmosphere, manned missions. There has only been a handful of people who can claim the honor of I have stepped on the moon, and many more people can claim I have been too close to the bottom of the ocean and survived. But that's just one piece of evidence. Secondly, if Megalodon did in fact exist and was around, we would know about it. Megalodon was a massive super predator. It ate whales. We would find evidence of that. We find evidence of giant squids having preyed on sperm whales and other such organisms that Megalodon also would be hunting. But we do not see any evidence of those types of interactions within sperm whale bones and within sperm whale carcasses that wash up. Secondly, people like to, and this is sort of where my real expertise comes in as a paleontologist, people like to claim that there have been Megalodon fossils that have been dated to 50,000 years into the past. Yes and no. So they have in fact been dated to 50,000 years. They have not been dated correctly. The method that was used had 50,000 years ago as the maximum, as the highest end of what can be dated. So saying that that Megalodon fossils have been dated to 50,000 years is kind of like walking up to the Empire State Building with a ruler and saying, the Empire State Building is only 1 foot tall because that is all I have to measure it. You see how kind of ridiculous that sounds. We know the fact the Empire State Building was bigger. We've seen it. We've seen Megalodon fossils from further, like back in time. We know it is gone. Never mind the fact that the dating method used, all it basically does is take counts of carbon, a specific type of carbon, and it can estimate age based off of that. That is that methodology works for specific specimens. If you've been fossil hunting, you have probably seen fossils stuck in the roots of plants, with bugs crawling over it, in streams where you've seen fish and frogs and animals cross through, in deserts where you know plants grow and you've seen animals walk through. It's not exactly accurate, as this method would, rather than read what is on the fossil, would instead read sort of the background carbon on that had been left by these animals or organisms as a fossil made its way through the environment, or as these animals made their way past the fossil. Um, so the methodology used for it wasn't exactly concrete either. The second piece of evidence, or the last argument I'm going to cover as to why the megalodon is still alive in our modern oceans, is that, well, it could have swam to the bottom of the Marianas Trench uh, and lived there. No, it couldn't. Nothing is alive really at the bottom of the Marianas Trench. At the very least, nothing big enough to sustain a megalodon of that size. Never mind the fact that megalodon was a shallow inshore hunter, meaning that it swam basically along coastlines to hunt. So it would go from an area of relatively low pressure to the most pressurized area that we currently know of. That would be like popping you into a submarine with no prep time, no gear, no nothing, and just dropping you. You're, to use a quote that I have seen and have enjoyed, your body would very quickly go from biology to physics. It is not possible unless you have evolved to do that. And if a megalodon has evolved to do that, then it's not a megalodon anymore. A megalodon is a very specific word used to describe a very specific species. If there is something outside of that species or that definition of megalodon that looks like a megalodon, it may look like a megalodon. I'll get like it. Maybe it'll look like a megalodon, but it wouldn't be a megalodon. We couldn't call it a megalodon because it wouldn't meet the requirements needed to be called a megalodon. It would be something entirely different. And you could use this with any sort of any argument of that type. Well, maybe it evolved to filter feed. Then it's not a megalodon anymore. It is something entirely different. Well, maybe it evolved to survive under there. Then it's not a megalodon anymore. It is now something entirely different and a new entire species. I hope that makes sense to all of you.